Shut up and sit down.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hell yeah, Batman!
Our bikes love us and we love them back as we ride through the city by the cars like black on the teeth of the town. We just keep on singing. We're unstoppable.
Oh, hell yeah!
G&O, unstoppable kids. Yeah, get your bike and go.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand,
Sir Ian Gibson,
Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. One of the most important decisions you will make is to be in a good mood. For every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. So, crank it up and be happy, my friend.
Oh, hell yeah, brother. Yeet.
Unstoppable kids. Yeah, get your bike and go. Get your bike and go. Unstoppable papas. Pedal and flow.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! You're doing it good, buddy. Great job.
Hi, welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Turing. There's Lance friggin' Hepler.
Lance friggin' Hepler, welcome to the show.
What's up, you frigginness?
Hello, friggers.
Per usual, to his right, Sir Ian Gibson.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen on the internet? You guys looking great. Oh, wait. That's not mine.
What's up, you bloody wanker? You guys, we're missing somebody today.
We're missing somebody.
That's why I stole his intro.
Matt is, well, it was kind of like a crazy week, if you will. It was New Year's and all that other fun stuff, and everybody's all over the place, and coordinating schedules just didn't work out, and so we landed on Saturday. So
Here we are,
recording on a Saturday, and then Matt's like, I got swim meets to go to. So
You got active, involved kids that are in the middle of their swim season, so we don't have Matt today,
Bloody wanker.
which kind of sucked.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys are looking good.
Oh, sweet.
And particularly good, looking good today. I mean, I don't know. You guys seem to look good every week.
thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. That was nice.
Maybe Matt is here. I don't know. Cool. All right, let's do smack pillow. You boys look a little disheveled. You guys got some stories to tell? You guys want to talk about what just happened?
We just had the worst ride ever. Like,
It was pretty freaking miserable.
actually, no, it was really miserable. But there was nobody fell off the bikes and nobody had a mechanical issue. So, which is a good thing because otherwise
We did 3.5 hours.
it sucked.
And it rained for
3.5
hours and 28 minutes of that. It rained the whole time. I think the high was like 42 degrees. So 40 and raining for 3.5 hours. It was,
The Pacific Northwest in its glorious best.
yeah.
There were four of you? Four of you?
Yeah.
How many of you had fenders?
Three and a half of us.
Yeah.
I know-
Everybody had a full fender on except me. I had a selfish fender on, just more or less an ass saver.
Oh.
Yeah. But everybody else had full fender on.
Which was kind of bad because Lance actually was the strongest out there. So and yet he
I was on the
couldn't
front.
really get on his wheel because you get a mouthful of road grit.
You had so much road grit on your face, Ian, at the end, and your face was probably numb, so you couldn't feel it. I wanted to take a picture of it so bad. It made me laugh.
You know, when you picking grit out of your teeth after a ride,
It was pretty miserable.
I was telling Lance a story of the Scottish mountaineers that only go up when the weather is really bad because everything else is kind of cheating. So it's like it's either full conditions or it's just not worth doing. Mm-hmm. And that was the ride today. It was full conditions, legit, a dinkum ride, as the Aussies might say.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
fair dinkum.
What else? What else you got?
What else did you do this week, Ian?
I rode on Swift.
Yeah.
Did that. Not much. Yeah, that's it, really.
Cool. How about you, Hep?
I had another big week. I did complete the Rafa Festive 500, although I didn't do 500 kilometers. I did 500 miles.
Seriously?
I did.
Wow.
Because like half the rides were on Zwift. And so when I got close to like 500 miles, I thought, okay, I'm just going to finish this off and do a full 500 miles instead of just 500 kilometers. So
That's still impressive. So way to overcome that whole stigma of like you did the Festive 500 on Zwift.
On Zwift.
Yeah, right.
Well,
right.
Well, half of it was on Zwift, and the other half was outdoors. I did quite a bit outdoors, but yeah, so I did a lot.
Chapo.
Yeah, thank you. It was it was like 23 hours of riding during that like 8 days or something.
Good Lord.
And then New Year's Day, I went and did a gravel ride with 3 or 4 teammates out in the West Hills of Oregon, near North Plains and Hillsboro.
I think I heard that might have involved a little bit of like snow or something.
It didn't rain on us or snow on us, but
it was on the ground, right?
But there, at the top of every climb, there was snow on the ground. So we rode through quite a bit of snow. But it was only a dusting of snow, but it was cold because of it. So, I mean, I had full winter gear on, and still my feet were freezing by the end, and still my hands didn't work by the end. And it was, roughly 3.5 hours or something like that we were out there. So that was character building. You would have thought that I wouldn't have signed up for it again, but freaking Ian and I just rolled up and did it again this morning. Although today's ride wasn't as cold as the one on. So yeah, I did a lot of riding. I'm still doing a lot of riding. I'm trying to start this like daily training vlog. I'm going to kind of throw that out there for a while.
Really? Where are you going to post it?
I'm going to post it on YouTube.
Okay.
So just going to try to do 4 or 5 minutes every day of what I'm training and what my plan is, and try to catch a little bit. I'm doing it mostly just with my iPhone because I've always got my iPhone with me.
Sure.
And so the quality won't be that great. It'll be a little bit crappy, but I'm going to try to put something up on YouTube every day, or every day that I train. I don't know.
Which is every day.
Which is pretty much just been, this is like day 20 in a row that I haven't taken off.
What's your YouTube handle?
It's Lance Hepler.
I don't YouTube.com /Lance Hepler?
Yeah, it's just my name.
Parentheses, freaking close parentheses.
Is it a new channel you started?
It's not a new channel. I'm just gonna roll.
There's
some old Lance crap on there
that might be worthy of checking out, huh?
Yeah, if you go look, some of it's a little scary, but
sweet.
So I'm gonna see how that goes. I'm gonna try to do a little something every day, and
if you're into rock counting, you can find Lance on TikTok.
Yep. There'll probably end up being some rock counting on these daily vlogs too. We'll just have to see what happens. So that's it.
Cool.
Jake.
I started riding again. Yes. It's been a minute, but I started riding again. I rode on, what was it? I was on the bike on the 29th, I think it was. Yeah, so that was my first ride back. And the doctor's like, just go slow, go easy, 15, 20 minutes should be fine. So I rode for 45.
Of course.
But all things considered, though, I didn't feel bad. It was a little, I don't know, it wasn't super comfortable. It wasn't uncomfortable. So it was just, I don't know, it was just not perfect, but it was like good enough to go for rides. So that was good. Took the next day off because I didn't think it was a good idea to go back-to-back days. So I rode on New Year's Eve, and I ended up getting like fully engrossed in some YouTube thing that I was watching.
Right.
And I think I already told you this. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to try and ride for maybe 45 minutes again. And I remember looking down at the iPad that I had pushed off to the side. It was in the other direction that I was looking when I was watching the TV. And I looked over and I was like, over an hour. I'm like, holy crap. And I usually am like dreading every last minute that you're on there. Like, you're watching every second tick off. And,
right.
And I was, again, fully engrossed in this thing. I looked over, it was like over an hour. And I ended up riding for like an hour and 10, around 15 minutes. It felt pretty good. And I was riding at a pretty solid zone 2 ride for me, at least.
Fantastic.
And felt good. Came back on New Year's Day, and I'm like, all right, well, the guys are starting up the Dialed 100, which is, all right, they're going to ride every single day for at least an hour. You can ride it on the trainer, that's fine, but you got to ride for at least an hour for 100 days. And we know what happened last time I did that. 501 days later, finally hung them up. But so I did that. However, like 45 minutes into it, and I wasn't riding that hard. Both of my quads cramped like mad crazy. I was like, all right, this isn't good, but I've got to at least get to the hour.
How long has it been you've been off? How long were you off the bike? Like 6 weeks?
I think I was fully off the bike for about 5 weeks.
Okay.
So not that long, but I kind of tapered down because the issues what I was having was like keeping me from riding the way that I wanted to. So I just kind of, anyway, long story short, I got these massive cramps, man. I have been so freaking sore from these things. I can't even get back on the bike right now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try and do a little spin this evening just to see if I can kind of loosen them up a little bit. But I don't care about the cramps. I'm just happy that I was able to ride a bike again, and it just kind of put me in my happy spot. So look out, world. Here we come.
Yeah.
We're waiting for it.
And not for nothing. I mean, I'm ahead of schedule. I mean, originally wasn't going to be able to ride until like mid to end of January. So the fact of the matter is I'm back on the bike. I'm ahead of the schedule. I feel
Month
good.
early.
All of my other symptoms have completely gone away. So I don't have any issues. It's just, mildly uncomfortable to ride, but that's going to go away eventually. These cramps will sort themselves out. And hopefully by the end of the month, I'll be kind of back out there cranking. So
Fantastic.
but you will not find me riding on a day like today with you jackholes that went out there and yeah.
I tell you what, once you're an hour in, just don't stop. We just
100%.
We just could not stop. We kept like regrouping a little bit, and I'm like, I'm not stopping anywhere. If we stop too long, this ride is over.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because I knew what time you guys were doing the whole thing. And it's funny, this morning my wife asked me if I wanted to go for a walk. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. That'll just kind of be fun to go up and walk the dogs. And it was like, I don't know, 4 miles or something like that to this little coffee shop, and went and got a coffee and walking back. I'm like, oh, we're going to miss them by like 20 minutes or so because we were walking back from where you guys were grouping, and we didn't want to wait because we saw that there was rain coming in the forecast.
You would have seen us roll right by, yeah.
So
We were way late, by the way.
yeah, well, yeah. Then I get home, and as I told you, I went and I looked. Finally, I'm like, oh, I wonder where that in the ride. Thinking that you guys are gonna be way into it at this point. You guys have maybe gone 2 miles. It's like 11 o'clock, and it's like an hour after you guys were supposed to have started. And at that same time, the reason why I looked is because it started pouring outside. I'm like, geez, I hope they're pretty far in. I wonder how far up they are, and not very far. And then I'm thinking to myself, maybe I should go like run some coffee and hot chocolate out to them or something like that. I'm like, oh, they're probably not going to want to stop and da da da. I don't know. Just
We did not stop.
It was.
Novel
I mean,
idea,
it was not. I was not cold. Were you cold? It was just my gloves were absolutely full of water. My shoes were full of water. It's just
hands and toes
water's-
cold.
No, I mean,
I
just-
wasn't
it's
cold
just-
either.
it's just miserable.
Just waterlogged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The very best part of the ride was finishing up with in the hot tub at Lance's and the sauna. So
Yes, we did a round of hot tub and sauna at my house, and that was quite nice.
I've absolutely discovered Lance's secret to his performance success, and he's been cheating the whole time. It's like this is this unfair advantage. Like
I'm
I
doing the
got out
sauna
of the
like-
sauna, I'm like, I could do that loop again.
It feels pretty good after sitting in the
You feel
sauna for
pretty
20
good.
minutes.
No,
So,
in
yeah.
honesty, how often do you use the sauna?
Like 3 days or 4 days a week.
Do you do that in the summer too?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Cheetah.
So the heat acclimation is one of those things that increases your blood plasma volume.
exactly.
And so you end up increasing your endurance ability
Sure.
by doing regular sauna and heat work. And so it's much more enjoyable during the winter.
Did he show you his little EPO stash that he keeps in there too?
I wish. But the heat acclimation really does help quite a bit.
Sure.
But it's one of those things where you lose it quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you don't do it for like 7 or 10 days, it's gone. The
Wow.
like plasma volume that you've built up, it goes away pretty quickly.
Okay.
So that's a good thing about heat acclimation is you can build it up fairly quickly, but you lose it pretty quickly.
Sure.
It's all out of my budget, but I told him I'm going to one up him with an altitude tent.
You're going to start sleeping in an altitude
Right.
tent. You're going to make your wife sleep in the other bedroom, and you're going to
There you
sleep
go.
in the altitude tent.
All right. Well, moving on.
Chainmail in sports.
Champ here.
What up, champ?
Champ is here.
Your face into a car windshield.
Wait, hold on.
Oh.
Hold on.
Take your mother Dorothy Mantooth out for a nice seafood dinner and never call her again.
That's right. Champ out. No,
Champ is here. It has been all cyclocross all week. The Christmas period is pretty much over, but it rolled kind of through today. Matthew Vanderpool went 5 for 5 in the races that he did. He won every single race he lined up for. In the last race he did, Lowenhout, he did end up crashing on his last lap. I don't know if you saw it. I guess I just showed you guys the little clip of it, but he was on the last lap coming around the corner, just kind of slipped out a little bit and hit a wooden stake and snapped the wooden stake off. And apparently he injured his ribs during that time. So he has bailed on the next 2 races that he had scheduled to do, which is kind of a huge blow for the race organizers and for him actually personally. Those guys get like 50,000 euros appearance fee. Well, Vanderpool does.
Just to show up.
Just to show up.
And then what does he get if he wins the race?
There's just whatever prize money there is.
Okay.
But they have like show up money.
Yeah.
Was he even gunning for the top spot in that series?
No. He doesn't care about the series at all.
Yeah. He's going to race the championship.
He just wants to win the world championships again. That would tie him with 7 victories for one of the greatest cyclocrossers of all time, some Belgian. I can't remember his name. I should know that.
Sven Nys.
It's not Sven Nys. Yeah. So anyway, so Vanderpool has skipped a couple of races in his absence. Ellie Easterbit won at GP Sven Nys. Lawrence Sveek has won a couple of races, including Coxide, which is the greatest city name I've ever heard in my entire life. And today was a super prestige race, and Wout van Aert showed up. Vanderpool wasn't there. Wout van Aert was there. All the other regulars were there. He ended up battling with. He was not off the front like Vanderpool normally is.
Yeah.
But he ended up battling with a bunch of guys. He battled with Van Tauernat. He battled with Ellie Easterbit. Him and Easterbit kind of ended up getting away with a couple laps to go. But Easterbit muffed one little corner and Wout van Aert didn't. And so Wout ended up winning the race today.
Okay.
So that was kind of exciting. Wout's only doing a couple more races. He's just doing it for...
Just because he likes it.
Just
It's
for
fun.
fun.
Probably. Yeah.
He probably gets appearance money as well. He doesn't get 50 grand like Vanderpool does, but man, the crowds, when those guys show up, the crowds,
Electrifies.
yeah, they're like 8 people deep, like all the way around the course. You watch these races, it's amazing how many people are there and how
Those guys are cycling gods in
Standing
that
in
sport.
the mud,
Yeah.
drinking beer.
Yes. Yes. So that was all pretty exciting. So another crazy thing happened. I think it was today. Lars van der Haar again fell and dislocated his shoulder and jumped up and put his arm on the bike, popped his shoulder back in, jumped on and finished the race.
Like you do.
My freaking good. What is that guy made out of? I don't understand how you can do that. Anyway, kudos.
Yeah.
Lars van der Haar. That's pretty incredible. I don't know what else happened. What else happened? Peter Ace, or Peters, or I don't know how to say it. She's also
Puck?
Dutch.
Yeah.
Puck.
Yeah. Just call her Puck. Everybody knows what you're talking about.
She's been battling with Lucinda Brand and Carmen Alvarado and Van Empel, but she won Coxide. I think Lucinda Brand won today at the Super Prestige Gulligam. So it's been a bunch of fun races. That's it. Cyclocross.
We're coming up on Tour Down Under. Is that right? Pretty soon, I think. Right? The road
Yeah, that's
season
usually
starts
like
up?
mid-late January,
Is
if I'm
it?
not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the official kickoff of the season. Not a lot of big names go to that, but it's a race nevertheless. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it.
Yep. Lance is feverishly typing away.
January 16th.
There you go.
Yep. So
That's
it's
crazy.
in
That's-
a couple weeks. Yep.
Bike racing's back. Love it.
That's it.
Cool. All right.
Champ out.
Thank you, champ.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Out.
Hey, EPO Chainmail.
EPO Chainmail. Did we get some messages?
We did. Got a few messages, and it won't be here this week, but next week I'm hoping. Got a new little intro, little jingle for this. So
cool.
Working on something. I got a few things going, but all right. The first one comes to us from a listener out of Salem, Oregon, and it was more of like an episode idea or like a topic for us to discuss, and I definitely think it's something that we can dig into. But let me ask the question that he puts out there. I'll just read it as it said. Tire suggestion for upcoming gravel races. I'm going to be doing some of the Mudslinger and Zone 5 events, in quotes, Gorge Gravel, Real West, Cascade Gravel. And he tried the Pathfinder Pro 38s and the Rhombus Pro last year, and neither were the quote-unquote one for him. The Rhombus that he was running were the 42s. And he basically wants to know, what are your tire suggestions? What do you boys running these days in a race. And what would you suggest for some of these Pacific Northwest races, maybe as like a good all-arounder? Because we know Lance is probably going to have tires based on what the race is.
I do.
But not everybody has that luxury.
No.
What's a good all-arounder that you would recommend to folks?
I gotta say, I really do like the Boken Double Cross, the IRC Boken Double Cross tires. I'm struggling with my tire selection as well lately because you keep hearing that bigger is better and it's just as fast and it's easier on you and it's less flat. It's more whatever. Mm-hmm. So I keep trying to think that bigger tires are going to be better. I'm currently riding 47s. I have 47s on my bike and I have the Specialized Pathfinder Pros on at the moment.
Yeah.
And they're very fast running. They're a very popular tire for smooth conditions. Gorge Gravel Grinder, pretty smooth conditions. Real West Gravel, I don't.
There's just one
there's like
chunky part in the longer ride.
Yes.
In the 60 miler.
It's going to be different this year. A little bit different course this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Not technical, I hope.
Not as technical, I think. I think they're taking out there was a technical-ish downhill that crossed railroad tracks, and I think they're taking it out because the train went through a couple times and held people up. So they're changing the course a little bit.
Other than that, sort of 2 mile, relatively chunky section, everything else was pretty smooth on Pendleton. So those early gravel races,
So
you don't need to have an aggressive tire.
But Gorge Gravel Grinder, that course is pretty smooth. There is 1 or 2 ugly sections on it that are only a mile or 2 long, and that's where everybody crashes, and that's where everybody has like flat issues around those short sections. You can actually go around it, but there's a time penalty to go around it. Mm-hmm. Like it's like an extra half mile longer or something like that. But Gorge Gravel was pretty buffed out. I'm not answering this very well because I'm not sure what to do. But the Boken Double Cross tires that are, I've raced them in 38 and I've raced them in 42, and they roll fast on the smooth stuff and pavement, and they have decent side knob where you can trust them in the corners. Mm-hmm. So those have treated me really well. But I've raced them so many times that I'm wanting to try other things. Yeah. So these Specialized Pathfinder Pros actually have better rolling resistance and they go faster. So I'm trying those. Yeah. But I got 47s, the biggest ones they make. And now I kind of wish I only had like 38s because I'm going to pick those and use those on courses that aren't quite as chunky or nasty, where I'm just going to roll better.
How about this? I mean, I don't know, that's just one of those topics that everybody's constantly comparing and contrasting, and everybody's going to have like varying opinions on what works best. I mean, for me personally, I really need something that's going to be reliable and it's going to be puncture resistant, because the last thing you want to be doing is working on, plugging a tire or, putting a tube in or doing something.
All your gains are gone as soon as you're
Exactly. So all of that stuff is just out the window. It's like, who cares about all this stuff? It's got to be something that's going to, hold up, and it's going to, if you know the route and you know that it's completely buffed out, then yeah, fine, be a little bit more aggressive. But it's not gravel racing, right?
Yeah.
For most parts, that's not what you're going to see. So I need something that's reliable. And I have tinkered with different things, and it does need to be fast. I don't want to have big, massive, knobby tires on there that's going to slow you down. It does need to be able to grab in the corners and all that stuff. And I've only tried like a few, me personally, and I have opinions on those, but I need to try more. So my question to you is like, ramble off the ones that you've run, the ones that you've used, and and what's your thoughts on?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to unlock your full potential? I want to introduce you to the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, a powerful resource to transform your life today. With expert interviews, practical tips, and inspiring stories, this podcast is your roadmap to lasting wellness. Here's what a listener has to say.
I used to struggle with my health, but this podcast changed everything. It's like having a personal trainer, nutritionist, and life coach totally for free.
With over 2,000 five-star reviews, we're a podcast you can trust. The Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
It might be.
I've used Maxxis Ramblers.
Yep.
I've raced those quite a few times, and I've had great luck and success with those. Those are very good tires. They just don't quite have the rolling resistance to some of the other tires.
Correct.
But I've had really good luck with those. I've used Gravel King.
By Panaracer?
Yes.
Yep.
Panaracer's Gravel King. And those have a little bit more grip and a very tight pattern right on the center channel, so they roll pretty well on the flat stuff
It's
too.
like a file tread almost kind of a thing.
Yeah. But they still have decent grip on the sides. I've rolled. Oh, I even tried some mountain bike tires. I've tried to put like Maxxis Aspens on my gravel bike. They don't quite fit, so they only made it one ride, and I had to take them off.
Sure.
So. My bike will only take up to a 50 millimeter tire, and those were like 2.25, which is actually like 55 millimeters, so they didn't quite fit. Those are kind of the main ones that I've gone with.
Gotcha. How about you, Ian? Have you tinkered with yours much
No,
on yours?
I really haven't. Actually, the tires on my gravel bike are the tires that came on my gravel bike, but they're 40 millimeter, which I think is right in the sweet spot.
Sure.
For, at least around here for the kind of courses I've been doing, which is relatively smooth gravel.
Sure.
We did have some teammates last year that kind of took it a little too far, I think, and went with a narrower tire, thinking that's what we needed for the better rolling resistance.
Sure.
And just the volume of air in those tires was just not enough to give you enough puncture protection.
Correct.
So,
the footprint that you get to on those. I mean, you're going to have to run a little bit higher tire pressure. So you're dealing with like a narrower tire with a smaller footprint, just based on the fact that you've got less contact area. So I think that kind of is a little bit of a disadvantage in some scenarios. I mean, I'm sure that there are some like really hard packed, it's not even really gravel. It's like a hard dirt road.
Yes,
that's going to be great, but that's not the essence of gravel, and that's what a lot of gravel races and gravel riding are not. So.
And again, having a decent volume of air in the tire is kind of the best puncture protection. Even on those super smooth gravel roads, you come across some sharp rocks and some heavy hits every now and again. So to me, it comes more down to tire width choice and of course pressure, and that's
the pressure is a big one.
This is a big thing.
Yeah, I've been a real big fan of anything from pretty much 40 to 45.
Yes.
I've had really good success with those. I can make them go fast. They descend well. They hook up well. I can get the right tire pressures for myself, so you get a little bit of compliance and it hooks up nicely. I've run the Continental Terra Speeds. I actually really quite like those. And I wasn't expecting to, but they did really well. And I was expecting them because they've got these just like little rounded knobs all over the place on them.
Yeah.
And but they still hooked up well in the corners. They rolled really quickly. And I was expecting them because I started running them at the beginning of the summer and I put quite a few miles on them and they were worn down pretty good. We get to the fall, it starts to rain. We've got leaves all over the place. I'm like, these things are going to be a freaking mess. They still hooked up really well.
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, something's going on here. Some witchcraft going on with these tires. But I wanted to try other things, so I haven't put those back on yet. But I did run the Centrado from Pirelli.
Yep.
Don't like those. They were, and I think that might even be what came on your bike, maybe, Ian. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, my biggest gripe with those is they weren't necessarily bad, but if you were on like a harder surface, the way that they would hook up and you would start getting into the turns, especially if you're riding on the road, you felt like you're on a rail, like it was going to either take you off into the bushes or you're going to like fold into the turn there. And then if you're running too low of a pressure for off-road, it was just one of those things where you couldn't ride it on the road because it just felt like a bloody mess. And then if you're riding too hard to kind of compensate for the harder stuff and you get off-road, then it's just too hard and you're sliding out everywhere. And I could just never find like harmony with those. And I just didn't care for them. So moved on from those, and then I've run the Maxxis Ramblers. I've done a lot of miles on those. Really good results. Didn't have any issues with them, and they're not the fastest rolling tire out there, but they were reliable and dependable for me.
Yes.
So, and I think the other one was the Maxxis Renegade, maybe.
That's another one.
Yep, I've done a few rides on those as well. And I think if I had to, just pick one from all of those in terms of performance, I think the Continental Terra Speed was probably the best performing tire, but the best all around tire for me was going to be the Rambler. That's just my 2 cents. that's not a big sample size of tires to choose from.
Yeah.
So that is on my agenda of things to do this year. Is like, all right, let's have a few wheels set up with different tires and let's start testing these things and really put them through the paces and see what they're all about.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a good question.
That was a good question.
Appreciate that. And then one other quick one. This one's kind of fun too. It's we don't need to spend a ton of time on it, but the listener asks, what is everyone's favorite and least favorite team kits from the pro peloton, if you will? His personal favorite was the EF Education 2022 kit from Tour de France with the pinks and splashes of blues and neon yellow highlights. He said it was insane, but very memorable. And then let's see here. The SD Works has a very similar bright and exciting design style. Then his favorite, that's his favorite current kit. And then his least favorite, do you guys want to take a guess what his least favorite kit is from the pro peloton?
UAE, black and white.
No. Ian, you got any guesses on this?
No.
AG2R.
Yeah, the brown pants.
shorts.
Brown shorts.
Exactly. Was that the same team? And it was a few years ago. We talked about this. They had the jorts, the denim
right.
colored
Denim color.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. I think that was AG2R that did that as well. But that was pretty bad. But do you guys have a favorite kit, like maybe all time or current or what have you?
I'm really disappointed that no pro teams have orange kits.
Well,
does anybody have orange kits?
So the BMC team, when they got bought out, was it the CCC? I think it was that took over that. I think there was like a clothing or shoe company or something. I can't remember. But when they took that over, they had orange kits, and they were only around for, I don't know, like a year or two, and that team folded, and I don't know why or what happened to them. But outside of that, nobody really wears much orange.
I'm dialed orange through and through, so I all my bike stuff has some kind of orange somewhere.
Sure.
But I do really like Jayco's new kits. They just came out with this year. I think they're purple.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
and
that'd
that's
be nice.
just a regal, kingly color. It just, I don't know. It spoke to me. I like the purple kits. Yeah, there you go.
He's like, wait, am I supposed to say something?
I kind of like the new UAE kit. They're just
Did they add
tweaked it a
anything?
little bit. Yeah, it's kind of got black sleeves and black highlights, but it hasn't changed a whole lot, but I think it's got some class. And then I like the FDJ Groupama kit, the blue kit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you guys like the Tinkoff? Remember that? When Sagan first came on, it was the Russian billionaire that owned that team. I think that was his name. Do you remember that? That was kind of like a little bit of a splashy kind of a color kit. I thought that was kind of cool, but it was like one of those, like, you don't want that for a long period of time. It was kind of cool for a season. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that really screams at me as like being awesome, but I have to wholeheartedly agree that I think that the EF Foundations kit, I like that. I like that pink kit, but like Lance said,
pink kit's nice.
Somebody needs some orange out there.
Yeah.
And purple. I don't know. Good stuff.
It's all about having the right shoes and socks and sunglasses, I reckon. Like,
That's all supposed to be white, right?
it's got to be white and
I'm
arrow.
failing.
Yeah.
Everything's black
Yeah.
and orange.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, boys. That was fun. We'll do that again. And for us to do this, what do we need? What do we need people to do?
We need people to write in.
Please
Send us
send us a text.
Yeah, we're really digging these.
Send
I
us your
appreciate it.
EPO.
Yeah, send us your EPO chain mails. Appreciate that. All right, let's jump into our topic for today. This one is something that we kind of curated here with kind of in mind with what's going on, but it's the top 10 health concerns that cyclists face in 2025. Our list starts off with...
We doing this because we're all old and broken?
Probably.
Okay, let's keep
it's just
going.
stuff that we're familiar with and we know what to talk about. The first one is overuse injuries. You guys know anybody that's ever done anything in the overuse department that's led to an injury?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All of us.
I've got one going on right now. My right knee is just, it's just from all those miles. I think it's just wearing out.
Yeah. I mean, the rub here, the agitation, if you will, is like just repeated stress on knees and hips and lower back from improper bike fits or excessive training and or crashing and then the long-term damage of doing that over and over again. That's the problem. How do you guys fix that? How do you guys get around or circumvent or mitigate the injuries?
I just had a cortisone shot.
There you go.
That's a very short-term solution though, and it's really because I've got so much going on in the next couple of weeks. It's understood that it's probably going to wear off in 3 or 4 weeks, and it's not fully working right now, but it's definitely an issue. I think bike fit is one of the the most important thing, because you're putting your knee through, or whatever joint you're talking about, is doing this thing over and over and over again. And if the alignment's out, something's not right, you gotta.
Yeah, it's not just your knees too. Like if you're holding an improper position because of an improper bike fit, then you're going to start putting undue stress on all the other parts of your body, your neck, your shoulders, your back.
I think it's particularly important this time of year when we're spending a lot of time on the trainers.
Sure. Where
you sit there, you tend to sit there in the same position. You're not getting up out of the saddle. You're not moving around as much. You're not changing your cadence as much. It's very repetitive.
Yeah.
And I found with my bike on the trainer, this knee thing seems to have started since I've upped my volume.
Really?
Inside, yeah.
And you've got the fit on the trainer. Like
Well,
you've got a
I think
kicker
I
bike,
do,
right?
because yes, but I have one of these noseless saddles on my indoor trainer, which is super comfortable. But at the same time, it makes it a little bit harder to judge, bike to bike, exactly where the nose of that saddle should be, where I end up sitting on the seat relative to my road bike. So it's not that simple, just saying, okay, I'm just going to measure my road bike and make sure that my trainer is set up the same way. But it needs to be. And I think cleat position, the insoles in your shoes, all of those things can have a bearing on this, and getting a decent quality bike fit is definitely a worthwhile investment.
Yep. Just one more added layer, and I've had this conversation with quite a few people over the last couple of weeks because they're asking these questions about that, because the indoor training stuff, like you've got to be comfortable, and it's got to be something that's got to be sustainable, not just for the duration of your ride, but all of the rides that are going to stack up on top of each other for the course of this whole winter. Because if you're going to do like the lion's share of your training on a trainer, you need to have that right. So like Ian said, the fit is going to be huge, but secondary to that is you can't just sit in that same position and not move at all and not get off the trainer and feel like absolute garbage. I mean, you'll get off in your hips and your low back and your neck and your shoulders, everything just kind of like knotted up. So I highly recommend to people that you make a conscious effort to move around. And one of the things that I really like about the kicker bike, or people that are using the kicker climb, is the fact that you've got the elevation component. So you can either, do it in manual mode and just have to have the mental awareness to like change your position from time to time, so that you're kind of going up and down. It just causes your body to articulate a little bit, and you move and you're in different positions. Or you can actually put it into the mode where it's actually following the ups and downs of what Zwift is doing, which is quite nice. So that you're again put yourself in a position of like, all right, I'm not in the same position for this entire period of time, which is really good. The other thing is these things have a lot of give if you're using these trainers, if you set them up right. Now, a lot of people have their setups out in the garage. I talked to quite a few. I was just having a conversation with a teammate 2 days or yesterday about this. And a lot of people have their setups in the garage, so they're on a hard concrete surface. And if their trainers on that and then the front wheels on the ground, there's no give on that. However, I mean, some of the newer kickers do have those vulcanized rubber little disc feet things. So a tiny bit of movement there. But there's different ways that you can make it more comfortable. And it doesn't have to be a lot of motion, but people are using things like rocker plates, or they're making their own things as well.
Have you spoken to people that have used these rocker plates?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Do
they make a big difference? I'd like to try that.
Absolutely do. And for me personally, I don't use a rocker plate because I can get enough movement out of my particular setup. I've got a little bit thicker of a carpet, and then I've got a thicker rubber mat that's got a little give to it. And then the feet of the kicker bike and all that other stuff have give to it. And so the feet, you can actually like adjust the feet on that up just a tiny bit, just maybe a couple millimeters, which kind of gives a little bit of back and forth. And then you have that sitting on top of the rubber mat on top of the carpet. And then if you think about that, it's going to move just a little bit down there at the bottom. But as that translates, as it goes up, there's quite a bit of side to side motion that you're going to get. And it's not going to put any undue stress on the kicker bike itself. But again, that natural sway that you get when you're riding a bike, that helps alleviate a lot of things with respect to your back and your neck and your shoulders and so on. So it makes it more comfortable and enjoyable.
I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to take my kicker bike to the bike fitter, like 60 it's probably 60 or 70 pound.
If not, no, it's more than that.
It's more than that.
A kicker, just a regular kicker weighs 55 pounds.
Yeah.
So that kicker bike probably, it's probably 150 pounds. But I don't know how you're going to get that there. But I mean, you can get all the measurements and get it pretty stinking close.
Yeah.
I took all the measurements from my road bike that I feel comfortable on and just translated them to the kicker bike that I ride.
And what's really cool about the kicker bike too is you can take your measurements from your road bike, your mountain bike, and your gravel bike, and then you can make all the markings on the kicker bike with a pen. And if you want to start like, all right, I need to start getting acclimated to this gravel race that's going to come up, you can change the geometry away from your road bike to a gravel setup so that you're set up for that. So there's a lot of upsides to the, the indoor training bikes like a kicker or a tax and so on, but pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, the kicker bike is infinitely adjustable.
Sure.
You can change the reach, the stack, the seat height, the standover height, all the things. You can change your crank length just by moving your pedals.
I think from 165 to 175, I think you can change that much.
Yes.
And what's kind of cool is like, God, you could probably put somebody on there that's 4'10", and you could put another person on there that's 6'9", and it's still going to fit both of those people. That's the beautiful thing about those.
Yeah.
So pretty cool little devices. Yeah. So and then the other thing that I would recommend too for the overuse stuff, and Ian is beat the drum on this one pretty loud, is cross training. You got to do some cross training. That's going to help you beat the whole like sitting in this one plane, one dimensional like riding motion. Like you can start to do other things that are going to complement the what your body needs to if you're just doing one thing with riding this bike, you're going to work all the antagonist muscle groups to that so that you're going to have balance. You want to have balance in your body and stability. So, all right, the next problem, mental health. Challenges with mental health.
Well, your mental health suffers if you're not riding enough.
100%.
Is that what they're talking about? Because that's what I think.
How about, and this is real too, like people get burned out from the competitive pressures of riding bikes and racing.
Sure.
Think about like all the comm hunting and then pinning on a number or trying to keep up with your friends and going to all the fast group rides. I mean, it's fun, but there can be a point in time where you just get burned out on that. And sometimes that can wear on you mentally. And like you feel pressure to have to show up to go to these things because maybe you're on a team and the team's like, yeah, we need you out there. And you're like, I just don't want to race this week and I'm tired. But you still go and you're like, put on your smile and you ultimately are going to have fun, but you get burned out that way. So
it's an absolute massive topic.
Yeah.
Mental health and the effect it has on your cycling performance, the effect it has on the rest of your life. Because one of the big things is you, as a cyclist, you can end up with your whole sort of identity, your whole everything about you can base on your cycling if you're not careful, and you have to sort of step back sometimes and go, well, this is just a part of what I do. I don't need to.
There's also rocks.
There's also rocks, and going to the gym, and
and there's also sometimes like just feeling the stress of like I have to go out and do a 3-hour ride. Because I got to be able to keep up, and 4-hour ride in the rain, when it's just miserable. And if you have to go do that by yourself and you just really don't want to, but you have to, and like there's just like this pressure on you. Sometimes it's like pressure that you're putting on yourself, but maybe other people are putting it on you too.
That was fully why we did what we did today, me and Ian, because we've got a training camp coming up that we don't want to suck for.
Yeah.
So we suffered today for that reason.
Yep.
I think the biggest pressure I put on myself on the bike is like in the last 5 minutes of a ride when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to call it on Strava.
That's fun. So just a couple things here is just, focus on balancing everything by mixing social and solo rides, and when I say social, it doesn't have to be a social breakneck team flogging kind of ride. Like go do something fun, with some people, maybe purposefully or intentionally reach out to some people that don't ride like that or ride much slower than you and just volunteer to go for a ride with them. So you've got that camaraderie, and then you can maybe call that your active recovery zone 1, low zone 2
just
ride.
Don't invite freaking Hepler.
Or just let them go.
Good at those. Can't do it.
So, and then, just have realistic goals for everything and take breaks and maybe unplug from data driven metrics from time to time.
I can stroll Strava for an hour and a half. That's not a good thing sometimes.
Does your FTP give you stress or anxiety sometimes?
Oh, heck yes. It's too low. It's not big enough. It's not. I can't hang with these people. My FTP is not good enough. Yeah.
All right. The next one, let's move on here. Saddle sores and saddle issues.
Okay, I did get a saddle sore this last year, and it had to do with a improper seat height that it took me 2 days to figure out that it was actually too slow. And Yeah, man, it laid me out for like a week or more. So, and I still wasn't done with the race. This was during the Oregon Trail gravel grinder. So I had a problem with my seat post. I have a dropper seat on my gravel bike, and I completely destroyed the shims on it. And so I had to have it serviced, and in the process, we didn't put it back at the same height. And it was close enough that I didn't notice until the next day when I'd already ridden another like 80 miles on it.
Yeah.
And the saddle sore like cropped up. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to be bad. So how do you deal with it? Salves and creams. And I actually used
moleskin,
donut-shaped moleskin.
Oofed.
And man, that's not in a happy spot to apply and put it on there properly and for it to stay there for the entire ride.
I don't even want to think about the application process. Let's lay it on his back spread eagle.
With a mirror in my hand, trying to put it in the right spot. Is it going to stay? Is it going to? So I generally don't use like chamois cream unless it's like a 5 or 6 hour ride or I know I'm doing multiple days in a row because my undercarriage is generally pretty leather like. But
that's something we kind of take for granted.
We do.
Like a lot of people,
Lance leather undercarriage.
A lot of people will come into cycling and they see all the rage and everybody's having fun and it's a great way to do fun things and get fit and whatnot. But the biggest turnoff for the vast majority of people is how uncomfortable it is to sit on the saddle when they first get started. And what they need to understand, and what a lot of people need to understand, and even some people that have been in the sport for a little while, is like saddles are different for everybody. You need to know the width of your sits bones. You need to know what shape best is going to fit your body. You need to know like just your anatomy and like what's going to fit a guy. Each guy at this table probably is going to wear a different saddle. But then if we're talking about the women too, it's a fully different saddle. So you need to make sure that you're getting the proper saddle. And that's something that you can address in a bike fit. But sometimes you've got to tinker. You've got to tinker with these things. You've got to tinker with these things. You've got to try different saddles until you find the one that's the sweet home run for you. And for me personally, I know that I went through quite a few in my early years, and then until I finally found something, I'm like, all right, that's the one there. So, try different things. And it's really cool now because there's a lot of really neat 3D printed saddles that really can like hold you much better.
Yeah.
You don't have to get something that's like that looks cool and just deal with it and know that you're going to have issues with that down the road. You can find some stuff now that's going to work really well, but it looks cool too.
Yeah.
But the other thing is a lot of people you would be amazed that we deal with don't know what chamois cream is.
Yes.
Or don't know the value of a good bib in chamois.
Yes.
So those things, your saddle, your chamois, and your chamois cream, get that magic little trifecta, figure it out, and that almost becomes moot. It's almost a non-point.
I think also you just need to pedal harder. The more watts you put down, the less pressure you're putting down on the saddle, right?
The leg pain overrides the taint pain.
Yeah.
Actually, there is some truth in that. If you are an absolute beginner cyclist and you have more pressure bearing down on there because often you've got your handlebars a little bit higher, so you're sitting more upright. You're putting less pressure through the legs, so there's more pressure on your butt.
Yes,
so there is some truth to that. But.
I will say that very quickly I quit using budget chamois.
Mm-hmm.
I quit using cheap cycling shorts.
Mm-hmm.
I moved to much more expensive, but.
A good set of bibs is going to cost you $120 to $200. It just depends on what brand you're going with.
It's available now. Like I mean, I remember back in the 80s and 90s, all you had was chamois. Was a leather insert.
Yes.
In your cycling shorts, really thin, and you needed chamois cream and stuff to make it work. But now, these days, as with everything, the equipment's gotten so much better.
Yeah, but a good set of bibs with a good chamois and some chamois butter is going to really cut down on the saddle sores and the other abrasions that you're going to get in areas that you don't want to think about because it's just not fun. And sometimes you'll quickly learn what was abrased as soon as you jump in the shower and you scream bloody murder. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about.
But it's also the same as with the overuse injury topic. It's like, you really need to, if you're getting a saddle sore, you really need to take some time off the bike and let it heal, right? If at all possible. But we, being obsessive cyclist types, we find that a difficult thing to do.
Through
like
it
this.
with the freaking moleskin
But my
donut
FTP's going to drop by 2 watts.
All that work I've been doing is going to be out of the window.
Yeah.
Do you put chamois cream on the chamois or on your bits?
Both.
I just put them on my bits.
I put it on the bits, but I also put it on the part of the chamois where the bits touch, where I generally have issues, and that's rock
enough.
solid for me. Yeah.
I just reach down there and slather it.
You hop to on that
I
thing?
use toothpaste.
Oh, have you used the Euro style before?
Sandpaper.
You get the, like, woohoo! It's got a little bit of that eucalyptus in it.
No, I should.
Yeah, it's a very cooling effect, if you will. All right, let's move on to the next one. This isn't really an issue for this time of year, but we deal with this stuff every single summer, and it's going to be the air quality issues that we get. And a lot of times it's from like the forest fires. And then in general, you get, just if you're riding closer to a city or a major metropolitan area, you're going to be dealing with smogs and whatnot. So respiratory issues.
Salt Lake Valley during the winter has terrible air quality.
All of the smoke from the chimneys?
It's not the smoke from the chimneys. It's like the valley holds in the air and it gets like stagnant. So
okay,
and that's not because of wildfire smoke. We have problems with air quality because of wildfire smoke in the Pacific Northwest. But
yeah, especially in Central Oregon. The last couple of years, like I met somebody on the plane on the aircraft coming back from London a few weeks ago. Lived in Bend, and he said, "I'm ready to move because it's been 3 or 4 years, months on end of just smoke."
Yeah, it's terrible.
And
we've had a few times where the AQI was in the 600s and 700s.
Yeah.
And we've had times where it was so smoky outside, you could barely see the sun. It was just that bad. It was like cloud cover. But
I've got pictures of racing at PIR and the sky is orange.
Yeah.
It's just, we shouldn't have been doing it. But again,
just be smart. Use a good monitoring app. There's all the apps out there that you can read the AQI, and it's really not worth it to go out and ride when it's in a moderate zone. I mean, if you absolutely have to, go ahead, but maybe that's a good day to jump on the indoor trainer, even though it's summertime or whatever.
They actually did, I think it was last year, right?
Obra has a limit.
Has a protocol now that set a set limit.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is.
Which makes a lot of sense.
It's 140 or 150 or 130 or something like that. It's pretty high. Where sensitive people shouldn't be racing anyway.
But if I was a race promoter in Central Oregon, that'd be worrying. Like your whole event could be taken down.
There's happened quite a few. Yeah, quite a few.
Happened.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. The next one, traumatic injuries.
Oh,
traumatic injuries are my specialty. That's my forte. That's my jam. What do you guys got to say about that, though?
Generally, it's going to happen at least once. So, and maybe sometimes more. How do you deal with that? You just have to go through the process of getting back on the horse. You need to listen to your doctors and get the healing process started. The difficulty with that is oftentimes the doctors are dealing with the general public and not athletes.
That was going to be my point, yeah.
And so the general public's timeline is going to be different than what an athlete's timeline might be. And if you can get your doctor to help them understand what you're actually trying to do physically and not just... Yeah, so that's tricky. Jake, you got a lot more ideas about this than me.
I've seen some things. I've done some things, but that the athlete's mentality is like, I can deal with the pain and suffering. My question to you, doctor, is this something, if I'm going to do this whole riding on the bike thing sooner than your average person, is it going to cause me pain and discomfort? Which I know inside that I can handle because we'll go sit on a bike for hours on end and just completely obliterate ourselves. Or is this something that's going to make things worse or slow down the injury healing process? If it's the latter, then I need to listen to the doctor.
Yeah.
If it's the former, I can deal with that. And when I broke my hip, that was my whole mantra with the doctor. And I was completely transparent with them. I'm like, listen, I will listen to you. I will do everything that you tell me to do. However, you need to know that I don't care about the pain. I just need to be able to get back on the bike. I need to be able to get back to riding because I've got things I want to accomplish. And he's like, oh, you're one of those. And I kind of smiled. Like, yeah, kind of. And he told me, he's like, all right, not for nothing, but riding a bike is going to be your best friend. And this is when I broke my hip. The femoral neck was broken. I've got 3 titanium screws in there. And he said that, because we put those titanium screws in there, that pretty much, that's the healing that your body needs. Now the bone still needs to fuse, but those screws that are in there are going to do what they need to do. It's going to hold the bone in place. He's like, I wouldn't recommend going over a certain threshold. And thankfully he knew about riding bikes. And I think it's probably because maybe he's ridden a bike or two in his day and probably dealt with a lot more of us knuckleheads that have been through on his surgery table.
Yeah.
And he told me, he's like, listen, don't get out of the saddle. Keep it under, I think he told me like 350 watts or something like that. I'm like, all right, I can do that.
Okay.
And he's like, you need to listen to your body. You need to rest as necessary. And he's like, what are your plans? I'm like, well, and we're having this conversation. I think it was a week or 10 days post-op or something like that. He's like, right, you can start riding on an indoor trainer at 10 days out and just take it easy, work with the therapist. I'm like, all right, when can I ride outside? He's like, oh God. I'm like, no. He's like, you could technically ride outside at that point in time too, but give it a couple more days just to see how it feels and then try and do a ride outside. All right, got that. And he's like, what else did you got on plan? Well, in 3 weeks, I'm doing this MS 150 thing, and it's 100 miles on the first day and 50 miles on the second day. And I want to, go out there and be able to do it because I've done it for many years. And he's like, oh my gosh. It's like, again, just don't get out of the saddle. Don't go over a certain watt threshold. Listen to your body. I'm like, all right, I can do that. So I went out 14 days post-op, and I've told the story in here before, so sorry for telling it again. But I went out 14 days post-op and did a 35-mile ride outside, and then I did the MS 150 3 weeks post-op and did just fine.
But 35 years old is different than 50 years old.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or 60.
Or 63 years old.
So, and again, that's another thing that you have to factor in is my brain still thinks I'm 25 years old. It really does. And even my 35-year-old self thought I was maybe 15 or 16 years old. So, I mean, it's always chasing, but
I got to say, it's my number one concern. I do live in fear of hurting myself badly. And it sounds bad, but at my age, it could, a bad injury could possibly be the last time I ride my bike competitively. It's, I don't know. I've only got one, thank goodness, one permanent injury from riding.
Sure.
And that's this separated shoulder here. And, it could have been so much worse. But even that is, I wish I hadn't done it. It sucks.
When I broke my hip, it hurt. It was a pain in the ass, but at the same time, I came out of it pretty good. And I learned a lot about myself in terms of all right, if you put your mind to something and you really focus on this and you work with the medical professionals and you don't push it too far, you can accomplish some pretty crazy things. And there was a lot of times where it was painful, but it wasn't hurting myself. I wasn't making things worse. I just had the ability to kind of work through that, and it just kept progressing and getting better. And eventually it was like, oh, I didn't notice that at all today. That's fantastic. And then next thing you know, you're bouncing back. However, it was 3 years ago now that I had another fall on that same exact hip that caused this whole other thing with my hip to kind of spiral out of control. It was kind of the same thing, but yeah, these stupid injuries.
And just the cruelty of it is it's the thing you love to do the most, and it's the one thing that's taken away from you because you're injured. All these years you've been dealing with that, and it has profound effects, right?
Yeah, and then getting hit by the car, that was the one that that one sucked. Anyway, it's for when you're riding bikes, and I don't want to scare anybody, but if you're going to go ride bikes and you're going to do this whole bike thing and you're going to go all in, I mean, how many people do you know that ride a lot who have never crashed?
None.
Exactly. It's not if, but when it's going to happen. And it's just be smart about everything. It's gonna happen, but learn how to crash. There's an art to that, and put yourself in safe situations so you don't get hit by cars. Ride certain routes. Don't ride at certain times of the day. I mean, it's never going to be something that you can fully control, but you can make the odds more in your favor. Yeah. Make them vote in your favor. So just be smart about it. Cool. All right. The next one, heart health risks. So intense endurance training over time can lead to conditions like arterial fibrillation and cardiac issues. This is a real thing for cyclists.
I know a couple people that go into AFib if they push a little bit too hard or if their body is off for some reason, they can go into AFib, and that's the end of your ride, basically. So there is some issues like that. funny enough, cardiovascular issues is one of the reasons why I do this, is trying to be cardiovascularly fit.
Sure.
But now I'm completely overdoing it.
Yeah. For this, I don't think we need to get into too much on this, and I don't think any of us have anything to say about this. And knock on wood, because normally I'll probably fall over dead from a heart attack next week, because that's just my luck. The biggest thing, and this is one of the things for me, because I've known about this as well, is like make sure that you regularly schedule your annual physical. Go in and see your doctor, get your blood work done, have them listen to your heart, have them do any kind of EKG testing. If you've got family history, just get everything on the record and be regularly tested. That's going to make a big difference for you.
Educate me. Is it true though that if you're going to go into AFib, through some sort of endurance exercise or by stressing your heart that much, is that something that you would happen to you anyway? Is it only, or can you acquire that kind of
there is a
defect?
There is a genetic undertone to some of that, but there's also the thickening of your ventricle wall can get too strong, too thickened, and then you can create issues from that. I don't want to get too in depth in this because I don't want to speak out of turn. And this might be something we can talk about a little bit more at a later date. But just from my general knowledge, that's kind of some of the things that you can develop. But I think for the most part, a lot of this is going to be genetically driven. Like you might be predisposed to this and not necessarily know. But I do know and have heard some case studies of people that don't have the family history and then they have developed cardiac issues from this.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, at the extreme end, you have young athletes, tragically dying through genetically, defects in their hearts and something that they would never have realized had they not become athletes. That sort of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
I always think if I'm gonna keel over through touch wood, if I'm gonna keel over through some big cardiac event, it would have happened by now. The pushing your heart rate up to over 200 in a big sprint or something. It's you're putting so much stress on that. But I would like to think at least that I'm relatively immune to that now.
Gotcha.
Since I've put myself under that stress so many times.
Right.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the next one. I have no issues in this department, so I have no concerns about this for me, but there are some people that maybe have this as something that might be an issue for them, but bone density loss. I am not a small human being, and I do not have small bones, and this is not something I'm worried about. So,
if the whole of your exercise stuff is non-impact, like you're only cycling, you're not doing anything with weights or with kettlebells or with walking or with hiking, then you can have bone density issues, and you're prone to like hip fractures.
Exactly, it's just like a little old lady, that just doesn't have any stress on her body. And then over the course of time, maybe she's got low calcium and whatnot. And then next thing you get these brittle bones and things can break down. There's a thing called Wolff's Law. Basically, it's like your body, when it has a stress on it, it will like have an equal and opposite reaction to that. So kind of think of like a callus on your hand. So if you go out and constantly work with your hands over the course of time, your hand's going to build up calluses to battle that.
Yeah.
Same concept though. Like if you overstress your muscle, it's going to have, its response and it's going to, lay down more muscle fibers and it's getting stronger. The same thing happens with your bones. When you put a stress or a load on them, it will respond to that by making it more dense through calcium deposits and such, so that it's going to be, more better able to handle the stresses and the rigors that you put it through. Cyclists, maybe you're pedaling and maybe your feet and your ankles and your knees are, getting a little bit of that stress and overload. But if you think about the fact that they're not really putting much stress on kind of like their lower back and their full back and their just the rest of their upper body, you can deal with this. This is a real thing.
But even pedaling as much as we do, there's really, even though you think, I'm putting down 300 watts, for an hour or whatever, you're actually not putting that much mechanical force on those bones compared with, say, if you're in the gym doing a set of squats or deadlifts, you'd be putting all that stress through your bones, through your skeleton as well as the muscles.
Sure.
So you end up between the joints, and let's say between your elbow and your shoulder, if you're doing a bicep curl, that bone is slightly deforming every time you do that, and that causes extra bone deposits to form.
Sure.
And so resistance training is the number one way to mitigate against
100%
bone
agree.
loss. And then speaking as an older athlete, this is one of those things that does become more important as you age, because it's natural that your bone density goes down as you get older, as you get into your senior years, as well as your natural muscle mass decreases. So it behooves you to do everything you can to sort of stem the deterioration.
Sure.
And as you get really old, that the risk of you falling and injuring yourself gets huge. And so, increased bone density, increased muscle mass is everything. It becomes really important as you get older.
Just weight-bearing exercises as well, like running and hiking, and like the strength training, like Ian says, is going to be the big number one thing. But cross-training, hiking, running, the whole bit there, that's going to add those stresses on your body as well, which is a solid
I've tried to do more. So I realized, I looked at my calorie expenditure and the things I've been doing, and I realized, I do this killer bike ride. I'm out on my bike for 2 hours, and I've burned all this energy and stuff. And then I didn't do much for the rest of the day. So I'm trying to get out and walk and hike and do other things where I'm not just riding and that's it.
Yeah. Right. One other form of cross training that I can recommend for roadies, and maybe even some of the gravel guys to a certain degree, go ride a mountain bike.
Yeah.
Because you will be absolutely amazed how much you're going to be throwing that bike around and throwing yourself around and trying to get over stuff and pulling and pushing and doing all of the things. Like I'll just say me, if I haven't done a mountain bike ride in a long time and I've just been doing a lot of road, and I get back on the mountain bike and I go do a long mountain bike ride with a lot of like more technical stuff. It doesn't have to be crazy technical, but just technical stuff in general. I come home and I'm like, good Lord, my shoulders and my triceps and my obliques and my back, everything is just wrecked. In a good way, but that's a good way to do a little bit of cross training. Plus, you get the bike handling skills.
Yeah. Or even a friend of mine is into dirt bikes, motorcycles, and he comes back and he says, "Man, what a workout!"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Really? You didn't have to pedal, but
no, you're throwing that bike around a lot, and you're just constantly like stressing yourself." So cool. All right, let's do 2 more of these, and we'll be done. This one again, not an issue today. Heat-related issues. Global temperatures are increasing. It seems like it's getting hotter in the summers for longer periods of time. And I'm not trying to be an alarmist or anything like that, but it is what it is. I mean, the temperatures are on the up, and especially for us here, like in the Pacific Northwest, like we get used to riding in this crappy weather we have right now. I don't know if we ever truly get used to it, but it's something that we kind of acclimate to. And then all of a sudden, you get into the spring, it's kind of nice, and all of a sudden we'll have these days where it hits like 90, 95, 100, 110 or whatever. And you want to go out and ride that. We're not prepared for that at all.
I'm not ready for that.
And I feel like the temperatures are getting a little bit more extreme, if you will, maybe a little bit higher for a little bit longer periods of time. And us being stupid cyclists, we want to go out and ride, and it's nice. And maybe we can't get out first thing in the morning. And then all of a sudden you're dealing with these heat exhaustion issues. You, Lance, have dealt with this when you were in Las Vegas.
I'm prone to heat exhaustion.
Yeah.
Yep.
So these are things that you got to be careful of, because they can sneak up on you, and they can be a big time problem if you're in the wrong place.
Two things. My friends who live in Tucson or work and train in Tucson, they ride at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
They ride freaking early.
Yeah.
And then the temperatures are manageable. The second thing is you have to hydrate enough. Mm-hmm. So either you bring bottles and a hydration pack, or you plan your routes where you can stop and refill bottles. Because if you're doing a 3-hour ride and it's near 100 degrees, you're going to be going through 6 or 7 bottles. Yeah. You better plan to be able to refill those.
Keep your electrolytes in check too.
Yeah.
So you got anything to say about that?
I got nothing to add to that.
Yeah.
No.
That's it. It is what it is. Just be smart. The last one, vision and eye problems. You guys had any issues here? Do you guys have any issues maybe today?
Yes.
Yeah, today my glasses were fogged up from the rain, and I was still getting crap in my eyes, even when I kept my riding glasses on. It's just uncomfortable. But apart from that, I'm suffering from my vision is not what it used to be. I do wear glasses all the time. I don't have a pair of prescription cycling glasses, and so I can never see what's on my computer. Some of the screens with I've just got 3 things on the screen, like I usually look at power and heart rate and something else, cadence, speed, or whatever. I can just about make that out. But if I'm trying to follow a map, trying to follow a route, it's done for.
And if you take your glasses off, you're going to get shelled, destroyed, especially if you're riding a group and you're behind everybody. But it's just that time of year where if it's raining, there's so much debris in the road and things are going to flap and hit you in the eyes, and it's just you can't do it. And then if you have them on and they get fogged up and raindrops everywhere and you can't see anything, and then next thing you know you're hitting the crap on the road. Or
well, you rode with the
pothole.
You didn't wear your glasses today, right, Lance?
My glasses stayed on my face for about 20 minutes, and I took them off and rode without them. 3.5 hours I can do without glasses, as long as stuff isn't. But I was on the front the whole day, so I wasn't getting as much stuff in my face or in my eyes, and so I could. When I did get to a point where I was riding behind somebody, I did put my glasses on, just because otherwise you're hitting crap in the road.
Here's something that I want to try, and I'm actually going to be putting this stuff on my car. You can actually see it on my desk right here. Have you ever put Rain-X on your glasses before? And does it work?
I've done it a couple times, and if you don't apply it properly, it leaves these swirls in your glasses that are difficult to see through.
Really?
So you have to apply it right. And again, it only lasts for, like, if it's raining and the stuff isn't, if you're not going fast enough, it doesn't help.
Really?
Yes. And then if you're wiping your glasses with your gloves, every time you wipe your glasses with your gloves, that only takes 20 or 30 times and that Rain-X is gone. So yes, I have done it. I've been desperate enough to try it. I have eye issues where, like, I can only see well for about 6 hours when I'm riding, whether I'm wearing glasses or not. Eventually my vision starts to fuzz.
Seriously?
Yes. It's one of the reasons why I don't do longer races, because I know my vision's going to, like, die on me at some point, and I won't be able to see right. I've had some issues in some longer races where I just gutted it out and it got really, really dangerous for me.
Interesting.
So I'm cautious about that. It's one of the reasons why I always choose shorter distance races when I go to these big national races, because I know my vision is just not going to make it. So, yeah.
I know. Going back to the glasses thing, I want to try the Rain-X. I'll report back to see if that works. I have to actually ride outside, though. I think would be my first challenge. Thing. But the other thing is, I've talked about this before. I will not ride without glasses unless I absolutely have to take them off.
Yeah.
And it just took one giant ass June bug thing that hit my eyeball once when I was, like, going 23 or 4 miles an hour, and my whole eye went black for, like, a moment, and then it, like, slowly came back, and it did not feel good at all. I'm like, I am never not wearing glasses again if I can help it. And I've taken them off just a very few sparing times, and it was mostly, like, I don't know, I think it was maybe like a gravel ride. It was raining. It was, like, covered in sloppy mud, and I couldn't see anything, and I was afraid I was going to hit a pothole or something like that. I felt like it was better just to maybe slow down, just to go take the glasses off and be able to see what I'm.
I'll take mine off if I'm on a big, long climb. I'll just take them off and put them up in my helmet.
Okay, that is an exception.
My face is getting sweaty.
Exactly. If it's going to start sweating and fogging up your glasses, I do take them off for that.
Yeah.
Or that's the worst too. You get some nice clean glasses, and I wear one of those skull cap halo things that's got the little silicone band.
Yeah.
And that thing will fill up with sweat. And usually it will, like, wick off the back, but sometimes it'll get over full. And, like, if your helmet touches it just right, it, like, you get this stream of sweat that comes down. And you're like,
yep,
son of a bitch, just wrecked my glasses.
I do not ride a bike without a sweat strip, like, on my forehead, because my glasses will not make it an hour and a half without that.
It's true what Jake says. At some point, it gets overwhelmed. And then your nice clean glasses get all covered in sweat, and that's
usually
done for.
The most time I can feel like a little drip will like seep down, like, oh, it's ready. So if I put my head over to the side and I push on the front of my helmet to in a position or an angle where it's not going to come down in my glasses, you'll get this, like, big stream of sweat that'll shoot. I'm like, right, now I've got another half an hour, 45 minutes before I have to worry about that again. But if you forget, you're screwed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun.
That's a good list.
Anything else, boys?
Nope.
Anything that we missed on that list?
Yeah, there's hundreds of things.
Let's leave them for another day.
Okay.
One last thing. Matt Legrand, you always go for... Oh, crap. It's not here.
Matt Legrand put out a video called 10 GPS watch trends for 2025. He put it out a couple days ago. If you want to see Matt's glorious face and great editing skills, you should go take a look at his
Have you watched it?
I watched the first 2 minutes.
Oh, that sucks. Why didn't you watch the whole thing?
I don't remember why.
You lost interest. Squirrel.
The whole thing.
Squirrel.
Yeah, something.
No, I do want to watch that because I'm curious about that.
Curious.
I kind of dig the smartwatches. The Garmin's are pretty sweet. So curious to see what might be coming down the pipeline. Is there anything about your smartwatch that you have, your brand new shiny Phoenix 8?
I got a brand new Phoenix 8 for Christmas thanks to my wife and Jake. They kind of came through for me. Thank you guys very much.
What was what's your takeaway with the thing?
The freaking AMOLED screen is fantastic. The flashlight is, I don't know how I live my life without it.
I'm telling you, right? I use it. And when I say this, I'm not embellishing. I'm not like trying to oversell this thing because of the flashlight. I use that thing every single day, and it is worth it so much. I love it.
I used it today, Ian.
You did?
Do you remember? We were in the sauna, and I wanted to see what the temperature was, and I couldn't read it. And I flicked on the light, and boom, it was 190 in there.
That's pretty slick. So cool. All right. That's one last thing.
Thanks,
this is his video. Go watch it. YouTube.com/M Legrand. Is it M Legrand or Matt Legrand? And it's M Legrand, right?
It's M Legrand.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Matt. Gibbo, one last thing.
We are just getting started on the initial preparation for our annual time trial extravaganza.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Michael Myers Memorial Time Trial, 4th edition. I can't remember.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Sunday, March the 9th.
Yep.
So we've got a flyer out published, I think. I'm working on permits.
It's on the Obra calendar too, yeah?
It's on the Obra calendar already. It's going to be out at Vancouver Lake. It's 12-point-something kilometers, 20 miles.
12 miles.
12 miles.
Yeah, 12.2 or 8 or
20
something.
kilometers.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of the big showcase thing for our team, for the Dialed. It's our big event of the year. So
it's fun too because it kicks off the season.
Yeah. So really reaching out to everybody that's on the Dialed cycling team. We would love to see you out there pinning on a number, racing. And if you're not able to do that, there's going to be some links posted on our Slack channel and other places where you can volunteer and help out. So really would like to see a lot of involvement from the local community and the Dialed family.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yes.
Hebler, one last thing.
I kind of like that that Matt was my one last thing.
You cop out.
Well, I got nothing else. I'm going to try to do this daily vlog thing. And
you're going to Tenerife. You're going to do some races in Arizona, right?
Yep.
When do you guys leave for Tenerife?
We live in 3 weeks.
Okay. So it's still a few weeks out.
It's still a few weeks out.
I was wondering, I was like, is that like next week? But we still got a few more weeks so you get jackals.
Yeah, 3 weeks, and then we'll be back. And then I'm going right to Arizona. I'll be there for a month. Ian and I are going to do the Valley of the Sun stage race. We're going to do the Tucson Bicycling Classic stage race. We're doing 2 road stage races while we're down there before training camp starts.
Jeez.
So that's kind of that's the
plan.
soft plan.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds fun. I really don't have one last thing either, other than I'm just going to be slowly clawing my way back and getting back to riding and trying to find some fitness. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, one other thing too. The Dialed Cycling Lab, we're going to be moving. We're moving.
We're moving.
We're moving.
We are moving.
Not moving very far. Moving into the sweet next door. But
we're moving next door.
Yeah. It's, we're 1,500 square feet. Not a big space, but when we first moved in there, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is big and spacious and roomy. We've got some cool place to do the podcast and make videos and have an office space and place. And yeah,
it's too small. We outgrew it quickly.
Barely made it through this past summer. It was absolutely bonkers in there. And we almost moved this time last year, but like, let's just hold on for one more year. And yeah, we're moving now because we ran out of space. So
we ran out of space.
That said, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we should start our tenant improvements here sometime this month, which is kind of cool. And then we'll be hopefully starting to move in probably late February, March, somewhere in there, like slowly but surely moving in there. But what's really nice is like when you move, having to move less stuff is always cool. So stay tuned for some cool discount codes that you can use on the website so that we can lighten our load and have less crap to move over to the new suite. And hopefully we can take care of some of our listeners and give them some cool discounts on a bunch of cool things.
So are you moving into next door instead of or as well as the current location?
Kind of a little bit of both.
That remains to be seen. Yeah. That isn't fully sussed out.
Yeah, we will have first right of refusal on the current space that we're in. And then we also have the ability to take a section of it because I think that where we're moving into is a good space, but I just want to kind of future-proof things just a little bit more. But there's also one harebrained, cockamamie crack pipe dream thing that I have in the back of my head that I've shared with Lance. I don't want to get into it right now, but I'm kind of working on a little business plan that I like this idea. Yeah, that might pan out, might work, and it would be a really cool thing for our team, for the lab, for the community, for kids, for people in general. If it works out, it'll be fun. So stay tuned. Cool. All right, that's it. I'm done.
Out.
You're out. I'm out. Ian, you're out.
I'm out.
Yeah, cool. All right, we will be back next week with another one of these. And until then, bye for now.
It's a dog's bollocks. Dog's bollocks, or the smaller version, the mutt's nuts,
or the cat's pajamas,
or the hands rounds. It's basically the best of the dog's bollocks.
Yeah. Why dogs' testicles represent that, I don't know. But
I don't know. But if you see a dog with a really good pair,
everyone does remark on them.
Yeah, because most dogs, unfortunately,
you seen that dog's nuts?
Yeah, look at the size of that dog's bollocks.
Yeah, the dog's bollocks.
They're the dog's bollocks. Like if you have a dog and its testicles are intact, and they're really, they're quite presented.
Yeah.
You might say, oh, they're the dog's bollocks. And you'd be literal there.